So, I'm going to tell you a little something about my personal life, all right? So, on the first day of high school, one of my friends came back from summer break and they talked about how they vacationed out of the country, went shopping, got new clothes, ate great food, met nice people. And while I'm happy for their experience, at the same time, I told them, why do I care? Because I wasn't out there telling people about how on that same summer, all I did was, watch Netflix and I watched my neighbors mow the lawn and I also watched my life pass away. I wanked it 3 times in one day, which was a record at the time. Okay, that's a joke. But the point was, I was like, I don't care, dude. And I kind of held a little less respect for that person ever since. Well, why am I telling you this? It's because today I'm about to do the same thing. I'm about to tell you something you didn't care about. That's my opinions on the balances. Let's go. I'm going to only be ranking these guys based on the balance change, not on the actual card strength, okay? Just the balance change, which is why I'm putting the Elixir Collector at S tier. This is exactly the kind of buff I wanted to see for the Elixir Collector. Clap for the dev team. This was probably like one of the only two good changes that they made this balance, because the Electro Giant one is D tier. Shane explained it so well. It's basically just going to be the new Royal Giant. You just spam it at the bridge. Most likely, now that it's 7 elixir, it's cheaper. It's easier to just spam at the bridge. Just Earthquake, Tornado, get it to tower, and it's not going to take down the entire tower, but it's going to do a decent amount of damage. It kind of reminds me of like when Skeleton Barrel was super strong. That's what I foresee for the Electro Giant. Just a bunch of spamming at the bridge, throw down an Earthquake, get consistent chip damage. I think it's going to be absolutely busted, but not in the traditional E-Giant decks, in more like cycle-based decks with like Fisherman or something. Maybe not Fisherman, but like you get the idea. Like those Hunter, maybe like some E-Spirit decks. Anyway, that's not important. Let's talk about the mirror for a second. I like what they did here. Mirror's still going to be hot ass, with 4 cost plus elixir, 4 elixir plus cost cards. That's what I meant to say. Like it's never going to be worth it to mirror a flying machine or Sparky. I don't care if it survives a fireball. Mirroring that flying machine is not worth it. That's 9 elixir just to get a flying machine that can still be countered by like minions or something. I don't, unless it actually one shots minions, in which case I'm gonna eat my words. But even then, I think it basically gets countered by bats or something, or even Mega Minion, right? Like Mega Minion should still defeat it. So the point is though, I think this is gonna be really effective for like Goblin Barrels and Princesses and Firecrackers. So I see that, this buff to the mirror is actually going to make it, I think, really niche, kind of like Clone, where it's going to work in very specific decks. Like I can see mirror bait decks going around. Talking about the Golden Knight for a second, I also think this was a really bad change. I'm going to put it in D tier. Actually, I'm going to straight up put it in F tier. The reason I'm putting E-Giant in D tier is because at least it's different. But F tier is like, this was just intolerable, right? All you did was revert the nerf to the Golden Knight and then just proceed to buff him, right? And I get the idea. They wanted to make it so that you could play skeletons a little earlier so that like when the Golden Knight dashes onto your tower, he doesn't proceed to dash on your skeletons that you were trying to use to prevent more, to mitigate a lot of the melee basic damage from the Golden Knight after he dashed. But that's not worth sacrificing the fact that you can activate King Tower with Golden Knight. That was huge, right? When he was in those Royal Hogs decks, a lot of times like activating that King Tower was super crucial. Now you can't even do it with him, and who cares if you could play skeletons like a fraction of a second earlier? It's a horrible change. F tier. It's going to be broken now. I think literally this might be one of the most busted cards in the game. That's my prediction. Is the Golden Knight. It's going to be so good in Royal Hog stacks, and Royal Hogs are already good enough as it is. Talking about Big Beefy Berry, lots of alliteration there. I like this one. I'm gonna give it an A tier. I like this. Barry was having a tough time fitting into the meta, and I like what they did with him, so I'm gonna give him an A tier. Right, he needed a buff. I'm glad they didn't really touch the bomb. The bomb was way too defensive, but I like that they're actually trying to make him like kind of a nuisance on the opponent's side of the arena because even when like on the other side, like he was struggling with his little cousins, the skeletons. It's like, come on. Whereas like at least Electro Giant just went on like a diet or something. He's got an HP nerf or something, right? But he's still cheaper, right? I'm glad they're not doing that with the giant skeleton either. They're keeping it beefy, right? They should take example, right? Like make the Electro Giant do more damage against buildings or something, right? Kind of like how they're making the giant skeleton have more DPS by increasing its hit speed. So anyway, moving on, we're going to archers and Ice Spirit. It's the same concept with these. I think it's going to be noticeably stronger, kind of like when Dark Goblin got buffed. I think it's going to be noticeably stronger, but not busted or anything. a lot of people are like, oh, is Expo going to come back? I actually think Mortar is going to be buffed. And I don't know, take that as you will. You can make your own interpretations. Tombstone, most defensive card in the game, and I'm glad it's getting nerfed. I don't think anyone's really surprised by that, unless you like never play Tombstone. But even the card's just way too defensive. Glad it's getting nerfed. It was already good before it got buffed anyway. It was just because of like Mother Witch and because Tesla and Goblin Cage and Fisherman were all better, that Tombstone never really got its time to shine. But Tombstone was always a good card. It never needed to be buffed. Glad it's getting a nerf. It needed it. Talking about the Ram Rider, I actually like this now. I hate when like um the player like doesn't expect like a hog at the bridge, like they're sleeping or something, right? They're like, I don't know what they're doing. They're like, maybe they're like playing Clash Royale in one hand, and like the other hand they're like drinking water or something. They're not really paying attention. And then you go hog at the bridge, and they didn't expect it. I'm like, oh shoot, what do I have in hand? I have E-Barbs? No. I have Rage in my hand? No. I got Clone in my hand? No. I got Ram Rider? Yeah, Ram Rider will counter it, and they'll throw Ram Rider down, right? Reactively, so reactively. And they can do it so late, and it won't get a shot. Sorry, I stutter a lot, but the Ram Rider prevents the Hog Rider from getting all shots. That's just ridiculous. I'm glad they finally added some more, not necessarily skill, but a more of a preemptive play style, or at least they're inducing a more preemptive play style with the Ram Rider. If you want to have a more clean defense with her, which I appreciate. Archer Queen, most broken card in the game. Thank goodness it got nerfed, although it wasn't enough. I think everyone could kind of agree it wasn't enough, but I'm glad they're keeping it strong, so that when the archers get buffed, like they actually like have some decent competition, right? Archers and Musketeer, nice free to play counterparts to the Archer Queen, but Archer Queen is still superior, so I like that they're keeping her strong. But I think they could have gone a little more. Same with the Valk. I can see her being super broken in mid ladder, just getting a lot of value on your side of the arena. So I get it, but at the same time, I didn't think really she needed a nerf, but whatever. Um, Talking about Graveyard and Mega Knight, oh boy, people are gonna be really mad about this. I'm putting Graveyard at C tier. So many people wanted Graveyard nerfed, and I don't get it. Okay, to me, Graveyard was strong, but it just needed a rework, right? To me, and it was also because of the meta. The meta was just so good, right? The synergy with the Tombstone, uh, made Splash Yard so good because the defense was basically just free with the Tombstone. And then on top of it, its synergy with Giant Skeleton, not Giant Skeleton, Skeleton King, with the Tombstone synergy with Skeleton King, like you had a dangerous, you had the triple threat, the three Musketeers, but not really the three Musketeers. In the Tombstone, the Skeleton King, and the Giant, not the Giant Skeleton, the Graveyard. I keep looking at the Giant Skeleton picture. He's too handsome. Barry, man, you're making me feel some kind of way. All right. Yeah. So anyway, I think Graveyard was only good because of Tombstone, and Skeleton King. The synergies were just too good because it's not like Giant Graveyard was busted. It was only really Splash Yard. And then on top of it, you also had the Mother Witch nerf. So Graveyard was just had a good meta, and it just really needed a rework. I think like the way I would have done it is take away the skeletons that spawn at the corner of the towers, just take them away and make them spawn somewhere else. It's very simple. So that way, like, poison actually counters the graveyard. It's not like skeletons are just spawning right on top of the tower and getting hits. And finally, the Mega Knight nerf. I'm gonna put it at D tier, and so many people are gonna be mad about it. But okay, let's be real for a second. How many times have you seen players just throw Mega Knight at the bridge, or maybe they'll just go Mega Knight in the back, and they don't bother to get any value out of it at all? It's max. So like, yeah, I got a max Mega Knight. So what? What are you gonna do, right? And you just sat there like, really, he can get away with this? And yeah, he can get away with this because he's max. How many times have you seen that? Raise your hand. If you're raising your hand, you're part of mid ladder. It's okay. Just admit it. Some of us are part of mid ladder, myself included. It's like when you wear your underwear backwards. Like we've all done it at some point. It's okay to admit it. It happens. So that's how I feel about facing Max Mega Knight. And this change basically is only for the smart players, aka the top ladder players who only use it defensively. The MK, as some people call him, was so defensive, they said, and so this nerf was trying to target that. However, I think even the devs, when they were trying to target MK uh, for top ladder, even they failed there because again, I think the main problem is the knockback, right? The stun, the temporary stun when the MK enters the arena, right? The stun was just a little too ridiculous. So um, that's what I think they needed to take away. if anything, and maybe counteract that with like a HP buff or something. I don't know. So anyway, yeah, there's my tier list. Feel free to disagree with me, tell me where I'm biased or whatever. Maybe I'm biased about Graveyard because I play a lot of Graveyard, but I'm also biased about like Mortar and the Log, and I don't want to see Archers and Ice Spirit buffed. And I do think Mortar and the Log need a nerf, so I feel like I have a very impartial view, and I just don't think the Graveyard nerf was deserved. I think it needed to be a rework, but I'm happy. I don't think it's going to be dead because of the nerfs, so that's why I'm keeping it at C tier. Let me know what you guys think about the changes, and yeah, I'm out of here.